And a very good afternoon, everybody. Welcome into another edition of This Week at Flyers Hockey. I'm your host, James Scorza, with you. No Joey Marks once again. Unfortunately, he's under the weather, but with me, as always, is my group of companions, Austin Hammel, like he always does. Austin, what's up, my brother? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Bit of a rough week for Flyers hockey, but you
Yeah,
got to take the season with the ups and downs.
Yeah, so it was a kind of a difficult week, like Austin said. Obviously, the Penguins game was not the way we expected to go on Monday, but it bounced back on Wednesday against the Sabres, and that was a very good game, especially 3 goals in a matter of 30 seconds of each other. And then the Avalanche yesterday coming into town was one of the reasons why they're the best team in hockey. The reason why is that they're probably odds-on favorite, probably winning a Stanley Cup this year for that good reason. But let's dive into it, shall we? So the Flyers coming into tomorrow, rather, they take on San Jose on tomorrow night. Then they take on the Vegas Golden Knights on Thursday, and then they play the Hurricanes on Saturday. So, Austin, I'll ask you the first question here, like we always do on this weekly recap. What do you think went wrong with this Flyers team, with those two teams like the Penguins and the Avalanche yesterday? What do you think went wrong with this team, especially that two teams are basically going to be one, probably odds-on favorite, are probably going to be in the postseason when it's all said and done?
With Pittsburgh, I think it was just too many defensive miscommunications. Pittsburgh kept getting past us in some really, really key spots in that game to be able to get really good opportunities to get pucks on net and get them in net. And the Colorado game, it's just playing against a team that is levels above you. Unfortunately, Colorado, like you said, I have them as winning the cup this year.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going up against a team that's just an actual like torment of hailfire consistently throughout the entire 60 minutes of a game. They're always on you and will not stop being on you until the final horn sounds, and that's exactly what they did against Philadelphia.
Yeah, so Monday was one of those games. I guess it just basically it's kind of like the same thing that happened yesterday with the Avalanche. Like, I think like they've never really got it going more than anything. I think that's one of the reasons why Pittsburgh, like the Malkins and the Crosbys and even Latangs, has been around for almost 20 years now, and there's a reason why behind that. But yeah, for me, I think the one thing that really made me feel positive about yesterday's loss was that they were like basically in the game with Colorado like from the very beginning. I mean, it was like a really good loss for the Flyers, if that's the right terminology for it. Because I think for the Flyers, too, is that especially losing that game yesterday, and also they were competing with the best team in hockey who only lost 2 games in a matter of the last couple months or so. That's one thing that was really a positive going forward, especially like coming into this week when you got two teams that are going to be in that postseason play with Vegas and Carolina. And usually, I mean, sometimes when games are like that, you really thought they'll probably get away from them, obviously, because you think of Colorado, who's like with Nathan McKinnon, who's on a frenzy right now, and also see Gabriel Landeskog come back from that injury. And I think Cale Makar's finally healthy, fully back to 100% too. And they got like a lot of good players on that team, like Natchez and Marty Natchez and Valery Natushkin. And like the thing that I was really positive about yesterday. And I mean, the Penguins game was a little bit of a, I guess it was a cause for not cause for concern, but I guess it was just that the Penguins were just one of the reasons why they are the best team, like one of the best teams in hockey right now, is because of those 3 guys, like I mentioned, and Crosby, Letang, and Malkin. But the Sabres game I found very intriguing was that they scored 3 goals in a matter of a few seconds of each other, and when you know it was like 3-1 before we even blinked, and I was real positive going into the week, especially beating a very downfall Sabres team, and I think it's going to springboard to see tomorrow against a San Jose Sharks team, who, by the way, are good. Looking to try to find their footing a little bit with Malcolm Celebrini and a couple players that they got in the draft. So that'll be something to keep a close eye on, especially if we get closer and closer to puck drop tomorrow. And also that will be our keys to the game tomorrow to see how we can stop Malcolm Celebrini and also how we can stop Vegas's attack. And maybe the first time we'll see Carter Hart come back to Philadelphia against as a Vegas Golden Knight, and also on Saturday, the Hurricanes continue to win in every which way, so that's going to be a big factor here going forward too. Here, so the big storyline that I took out of this game here yesterday too is that the scoring has become a real positive for this Flyers team, and especially yesterday that it was Sean Couturier's 900th game as a Flyer, and also when you know it, it was his 31st birthday. And right now, I have to say right now, like the Flyers have done very good. I think they've done a very good job more than anything. That to see how I mean, it's hard to believe Sean Couturier has been in almost in 1,000 games already, and it's hard to believe. I remember seeing him as a rookie, like doing a very good job against Evgeny Malkin, and see how he's been around for this long. And it's pretty amazing to think about how much he has been around and how much he's been a real factor for this Flyers team in these last handful of years.
Yeah, it's incredible to. It's always incredible to see somebody reach a milestone like that. You know, he's that close to 1,000 games now, and he's for being here as long as he has. You know, Philadelphia sometimes has that tendency to trade players that are starting to find their groove a little bit because of the fact that, especially over the last probably about 10 years, the team has been kind of on a downfall a little bit. So a lot of those talents usually end up getting moved. And for Couturier to be able to stick around for as long as he did with the same organization on top of it is incredibly impressive. And to also have that game happen to fall on your birthday and you score a goal could not have gone better for the guy. a belated happy birthday to Sean Couturier, and also congratulations on the 900 games. But you made mention of something with the Colorado game that I 100% agree with. That was a loss that I was happy to take simply because of the fact the final was only 3-2. That could have easily been a 6-2, 7-2 loss for Philadelphia, because Colorado, sometimes that team can score in bunches, and those bunches are large bunches. So to be able to not only put 2 in on that team, but also only hold them to 3 actually gives you a lot of promise for not only your offensive capability, but your defensive capability and your goaltending. Like, Colorado is an absolute buzzsaw. Pittsburgh showing that even though their core is on the older side, they still can really play really strong, and they definitely took you to task at the beginning of the week. But to bounce back from such a tough loss, to come out and, like you said, score 3 in a very short time frame against Buffalo, and to be able to hold that lead and get that win going into the Colorado game with that momentum was big. And again, like I said, even though you lost to Colorado, losing by as small of a margin as you did shows promise. Like I said, Colorado is an incredibly capable offensive team. They are, by not only by me, but a lot of other people, favorites to win the Stanley Cup this year. So to see you only lose by 1 goal is still an extreme positive.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the one thing I take out of it too, is that especially like you said, with Colorado going on that scoring frenzy, and it could be like 6-2 or 7-2, no matter how you blink. And that's the thing that I take out of it too, is that even though it was a close game, it was a fun game to watch. I mean, it would be like these two teams, say for example, meet up in the Stanley Cup final, and they play a helter-skelter type of game that somehow in some way is that. I mean, obviously, we don't want to see the Avalanche win a Stanley Cup on our home ice. That's probably the obvious here. But the thing I was really intrigued about yesterday is that they were getting a lot of good chances in that game. And I think it was a really positive to see that even though it was 3-2, I can feel good about having a 3-2 game, obviously, because before, if this was an old Flyers team, they would score like unanswered, like 5 or 6 goals before you even blinked, and then you get disgruntled. This thing, like, what is this Flyers team identity is? But I had to say right now, the Flyers competing with the best team in hockey and also make them only score 3 goals is a very good positive going forward. And it should be very a positive going forward, especially coming up this week with 2 teams that could be, dare I say this, and postseason play.
Yeah, and especially when you look at how things went a few weeks ago playing against Dallas, who in my opinion is a top 5 team out in the Western Conference.
Sure.
They walked all over you. And to come back and play against a team that is definitely, I can't even say that it's an opinion, because I do feel like it's a full-blown fact.
Right.
Colorado is miles above what Dallas is right now in terms of the way they play. And to lose to Dallas by 4, and then in I want to say about 21 days time, turn
Mm-hmm.
around and only lose by 1 to literally the best team in the NHL is incredibly impressive. I feel like this team should not be hanging its head after that loss. I would think today they went back into practice and It was like, hey man, don't eat yourself up about any missed opportunities that you had in that game yesterday, because that was the best team in hockey and they're probably going to be hoisting the cup at the end of the year. So give yourself a ton of credit for being able to keep yourself in that game for as long as you did, because they easily could have steamrolled and left you in all sorts of turmoil coming into the game tomorrow night.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing too that I would also say here too is that the Flyers could springboard this into a good positive going forward, especially like teams like Vegas and also like Carolina too.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I would take out of it too is that I gotta give kudos to Rick Tocchet for making this team where it is, and we got a couple comments here by my dad, Joe Scorza, says, "Still a young team. They're still trying to find the capable of great things, but there will be a playoff team, in my opinion." And I completely concur. And he says also Tocchet was very pleased with the way they played versus Colorado yesterday, so that's another positive too. Is that
and,
they?
And if I'm Tocchet, I give these kids all sorts of credit, because a lot of these guys are still really young, and they're playing against really top. They literally played against the best team in hockey. Honestly, in the past 3 years, they've been one of the best teams. So to play against a team that perennially is as good as Colorado is probably the most impressive thing that you will have going for you this season until you make the playoffs. I said it last week, and I'll echo it again this week. I think Philadelphia is a 5 seed for the playoffs.
I believe that. I believe that.
It's completely in their control. 5th, maybe 6th, depending on if you happen to hit a bit of a skid where everything just starts to come off the rails and you have to fix it. But this team has the potential to just crash the playoff party for sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like you take every loss that you get going forward now, as it could have been so much worse. We could have lost really bad to Colorado, and you carry that with you. Like we basically went shot for shot with one of the best with the best team in the league, and came out not looking too bad.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. My dad also brings up here, effort will eventually pay off too. And that's the thing. That's a key word. That's definitely a key word.
As long as you're getting the puck into the offensive zone and being able to put it on net, good things will happen if you keep going at it. And this team, they keep going at it, man.
They
really do.
They compete. They play hard. They compete. I told this to a buddy of mine too. I said to myself, they compete hard. They compete very well with teams that are that are top teams. Obviously, they blow out the teams that you're supposed to be, like the Sabres and all that, but they also play to competition against. I mean, sure, you have a clunker here and there against the Stars, like you mentioned, or the Penguins, like it was last Monday, but they bounce back right away. I mean, someone brought it up on the radio broadcast. I think it was like Todd Fedoric, or I think it was Tim Saunders that brought it up, that it was more like once they lose like a game like they do, like the Penguins game, they bounce back like right away too.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's the other side of the coin with, putting forth that solid effort every single night. You can't carry how you felt about the previous game into your next one.
Sure.
You have to look at every single game as the record is 0-0.
Yep, absolutely.
And if you're going in thinking, well, that was a really tough loss last night, you're not going to play to that full potential. You're not going to put forth the maximum possible effort. And Tocchet not only has these guys being able to put that effort forward every single game, he has them not worrying about what happened in the previous game. So
absolutely,
take that time in the practice today, make sure those passes are nice and crisp. Make sure you're getting that work on getting the puck through the neutral zone, because that's another thing that I'll point out. Their neutral zone movement this past week was very solid. Oh, yeah. Very, very solid. They've been getting a lot better moving the puck through neutral ice. And that was an issue that Joe had brought up a few weeks back, was that they had been having a lot of difficulty getting the puck through neutral ice. And they've definitely fixed that issue. Their passing has been really crisp. honestly, I think it was in the Colorado game, we saw Zamula paired up with Drysdale for that game.
Yep.
And honestly, I'm giving a ton of credit now to Jamie Drysdale. Whoever they pair him with, he is working incredibly well with those players they put up there with him on that first pairing. Drysdale has been an incredible addition for this team at the blue line, especially when you think of the fact that you lost Ristolainen, so you had to find another number one defenseman to go alongside Sanheim. So you've been getting a lot of really good play from your blue line, and a lot of it is hinging around the play of Jamie Drysdale with anyone that he is paired with. He's making every single defenseman out there look really good. And I don't mean that as a slight towards the rest of the guys, because, you know, Juleson, Zamula, like we just mentioned, even Emil Andre, like all these guys are really good defensemen, and we're getting to see them be showcased very well. And it's being complemented and elevated by the play of Jamie Drysdale.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess the other thing that's a really positive too is that the defensive front has been a real positive too. I mean, this has been a real. I mean, I keep on saying the word positive, but that's the thing. I mean, it's a real. I mean, you think about like Emil Andre last week against the Panthers, and or 2 weeks ago against the Panthers, and he did a fantastic job getting those 2 goals when it mattered the most. And Drysdale has become a real factor here too. The other thing I really am really excited to see is that Travis Sanheim like actually become a better player every game. And I think, I mean, sure, Sanheim had some obstacles at the beginning of his career, but he has become a better player every single game. And kudos to, I don't know who was the one that actually saw Sanheim to become a better player, but whoever did never gave. I mean, here's the other thing too. Speaking of Sanheim, a couple years ago, he was supposed to be on the trade block with the Avalanche, and the Flyers said, "We're not giving you away, Travis Sanheim. We want to see how much he can still develop." And when you know it, he's been doing an excellent job.
Yeah, I believe that was around the time that we also had shipped off Robert Haig.
Right.
So you think about some of the guys that were in that blue line core with previous brats, keeping Travis Sanheim wound up being an incredible call, because Sanheim has actually proven that he is capable of being a top 2 pairing defenseman in the NHL, and he shows it every single night. I mean, absolutely. Of course, every single player is going to have one of the nights where their game is definitely off. But with Sanheim, the nights that he's off, it still looks like he's a top flight defenseman. So, I mean, you're getting really good play from your blue line to complement the incredible play that you're having from your forwards, to go along with the great play that you're having from your goaltending, even though, you know, you did see a game where you gave up 5 this week against Pittsburgh. But regardless, you know, you're having all of the signs of this being an upstart team this year and next. And you just have to be able to ride those positives. And we keep saying that term a bunch because of the fact that this team is showing the promise that they've been sort of trying to force down our throats the past few years of, like, this team can compete. We're seeing it now. This team actually is competing, and they will continue to compete. And it doesn't matter who they're playing against. They will be giving that maximum effort every single night. And you look at just the offensive core that we have: Michkov, Couturier, Konechny, Trevor Zegras. Like, all of these guys are exactly what you want your core to be going forward. A couple of really, really savvy veterans in Couturier and Konechny, and then a couple of really good upstart young guys in Trevor Zegras and Matvei Michkov. This is exactly what you want your core to be going forward, and to partner along with that. First of all, we've made mention before, like, in terms of goaltenders, like, Dan Vladar at 6'2" is about the average height that you would see for a goaltender. This man's legs are long, dude. Yeah, like he's coming across on stuff and making pad saves, and I'm like, no one else could reach their leg out like that. Like, this man's going, he gets crazy leg reach, and it's and seeing that, just on top of that, just the overall solid play in goal from both him and Sam Ersson, to go along with the solid play that you're seeing in the blue line and with the forwards and with the core that we have going forward. This team can, I said it last week and I'll say it again this week, the window is starting to open for this team. You just need to get your foot in the door this year or even next year. And from there, that window is going to fly open because some teams, their talent's going to start to drop off. The guys are getting older. Jamie Benn, Tyler Sagan in Dallas. Even Gabe Landeskog, Val Nichushkin out there in Colorado. Like we mentioned last week going into the game on Monday with Pittsburgh, Crosby, Malkin, Letang, Carlson, those guys are getting old. Like there's a lot of teams where there's going to be a changing of the guard in the next couple of years. We have a core to go forward for at least 3 to 5.
Right.
So while these teams are trying to figure out who their next guys are going to be, we have our guys now and going forward. So Absolutely. This is going to be a tremendous swing up, I feel, for Philadelphia going forward with the way you've built this team. Briere has put together some really good deals to get some great talent in here over the past couple of seasons. And it's just, honestly, we can't stop saying the word. It's been positive after positive for Philadelphia.
For sure. Absolutely. All right, so let's move on here. So the Flyers have a couple games here tomorrow, especially. They got a couple games during the week, rather, excuse me. So the beginning, it will be on Tuesday when the Flyers take on San Jose here at Xfinity Mobile Arena here in Philadelphia. And then on Thursday, the Vegas Golden Knights come to town for the first time this season. And that could be, like I said, Carter Hart's return game back to Philadelphia. So I wonder how the crowd will be with that kind of stuff here because, I mean, last time I checked with Cutter Gauthier, it didn't go the way we expected to go. And also, to close out the week, the Flyers will be playing the Hurricanes for the first time in Philly. So, Austin, how do you think they will do this week with with San Jose, Vegas, and Carolina coming up in the week?
Well, you get San Jose, Vegas, and then the home and home with Carolina over the weekend on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
I like to think you at least get 2 at home, so you finish out the week 2-2. I feel like Vegas is just going to be too tall of a task. Vegas is a really strong team. They have incredible talent, incredible names. Mitch Marner, Jack Eichel, like they have some really solid guys there. Yeah, and not to mention like you brought up the aforementioned former Flyer Carter Hart, who hadn't seen NHL play since what was it, like early 2024, something. I think
it was early 2024. It was before that.
It was either like
off the ice issues happened.
It was either December of 23 or January of 24 was the last time he played a game. But
yeah,
you're gonna see him coming back home. Who knows what that reception's gonna be like? There's so many variables because I talked about it with you last week, man. The variables going forward for this month for Philadelphia, a lot of really solid talent. San Jose, Vegas, Carolina, Montreal, Buffalo, the Rangers, Vancouver, Chicago, Seattle, Vancouver, Calgary to round out 2025. So you have a lot of really solid teams that you're going to be going up against to round out this year. And this is where a lot of your momentum can gather. If you can get a couple of really solid wins against really solid teams, it's going to carry you for a while. And then you open up 2026 against Edmonton in Edmonton. So if you can start that Canada swing of Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton by crushing one and then eking out a win against another, you're going to have all the momentum in the world going into 2026 facing off against Edmonton and Edmonton.
So I'll say this too. I mean, that's perfectly well said by you, dude. I think I agree 100%. I mean, the thing I take out of this week is that obviously the one guy you got to keep a close eye on for the Sharks is Malcolm Celebrini. That's the big thing because everybody's been talking about him as becoming like the next dynamic duo of Connor Bedard and Celebrini being the new Ovechkin Crosby phase 2, if that's the right terminology. The right terminology. So for me though too is that the Vegas game, I guess I can see that as a loss because especially how they have like really good talent on that team, like you brought up with Marner, and also you brought up with other. They never do well against Vegas. I mean, the last time I checked, I think the Flyers played and won a game against Vegas was in 2023. So we're talking almost 3 years ago since that happened. But I think for Vegas too is that I think it's going to be a real positive, like how it was. The Avalanche game, it'll be a close game because they always compete hard with like games against they compete very well, against teams that are against teams that are in that Western Conference. And then, like you said about Carolina, I mean, I think we probably split. I think maybe we split with Carolina. We probably win that game on Saturday, and then we probably lose that game on Sunday. So I would be sure it will be hopefully probably a very probably. I see the Flyers probably take 3 out of 4. I mean, probably or it might be split depending on what they do against Vegas. But I do see them win tomorrow against San Jose. Other than I mean, I'm not sure about San Jose. I mean, other than Celebrini, I mean, I think I wouldn't say it's a schedule win, but at the same time, too, I think it's more at the factor is that I don't think San Jose is going to come in here and try to like come here and leave here with the victory. I think it's more that I mean Celebrini is the one guy you got to keep a close eye on more than anything, and Vegas is. I mean that's all going to be on depending on who's going to be the goaltender that night for the Vegas Golden Knights and who we got to deal with. Either that's Carter Hart or Schmid, the other one that actually got a victory for the Vegas Golden Knights a couple of days ago against the Devils, and they are starting to struggle a little bit as the Devils is concerned too. But then, like I said with Carolina, I think we split with those 2 games. I mean, I think that's probably a very positive positive going forward for this team more than anything. I think that's going to be even more so, especially against Edmonton coming up in the next couple of weeks or so when that Western road trip comes around here, and then the Flyers play the next couple of games before they close out the year in 2024. I'm sorry, 2025. Excuse me. If they can start off to a real good road trip, like against Calgary and Vancouver, and get that win in Edmonton, like you mentioned, Austin. I mean, that's something to go. That's something to be very, very, very excited about for the next, especially for the next year or so, and to see what they look like against teams in that conference that are like the Edmonton Oilers, and even more so like teams that they can battle against. And it should be a real tall task for them more than anything. I mean, but yeah. I think they can handle it though.
Yeah, and I mean, especially going into Tuesday against San Jose, I mean, they may not be, one of the best teams in the league or even in the Western Conference, but the team's definitely not a slouch at all. Like not counting, Macklin Celebrini, of Tyler Toffoli, William Eklund, sure. Dmitry Orlov, Alex Wenberg,
John Klingberg,
John Klingberg, Jeff Skinner, right. Barclay Goodrow, Vincent Desharnais. Like you have some really solid players on that team. So I mean, it's not for a lack of effort for sure with them. It's just they're in a buzzsaw of a Western Conference out there. So it's really tough to be able to, find your way through those kinds of teams, especially when you look at their record and they don't seem as good as they make themselves out to be. Because this could be a potential where, you end up underestimating them, and then they drop a couple of goals on you early. So you're ending up in a hole because you underestimated what they're capable of. And like I said, San Jose is no slouch. And then you go into playing Vegas, who definitely aren't a slouch team. And they're another one of those teams in the top 5 in the NHL, in my opinion. Like I personally, I think that it's going to be Colorado beating Vegas in the Western Conference final to get to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, for sure.
And you just go from a team with, I mean, again, that's a team full of aging talent. Jeff Skinner, Dmitry Orlov, all those kinds of guys out there. And then you go into a team where their window on age for some of their talent is a little bit lower. So you look at the guys like the Jack Eichels, the Mitch Marners, those kinds of guys out there for Vegas. These are all teams that you're actually running into the teams where the core is about the same as yours. Mm-hmm. Going forward for building for future success. And all 3 of those teams, San Jose, Vegas, and San Jose, Vegas, and Carolina, like all 3 of those teams are going to be other teams that you will see competing years down the line with the cores that they have. Yeah. So especially for this week, you just need to keep the keys simple. Continue the strong offensive play, continue to move the puck well through the defensive end, and just back up whoever you have in goal, because you've been seeing some really solid play from both Vladar and Ersson over this season so far.
Right.
Granted, Vladar has emerged as the number 1, but even so, Sam Ersson has still had very solid games in net. And you need to be able to ride that. Like Sam Ersson was between the pipes for the Avalanche game. Yeah. So I mean, he's putting forth solid efforts. I mean, he didn't get blown up by Colorado, which I saw that Harrison was in net and I went, I don't know, but he wound up having an incredible game. So, you just have to be able to keep it. A lot of this week is going to be play the game simply, rely on your fundamentals to get you through a lot of these games, because you do not want any of these games to end up being one of those knock them down, drag them out style games, considering the fact that you have the home and home this weekend. You're going to be playing 2 games within 24 hours of each other. The Colorado game's at 5. The first Carolina game is at 5. The second one's at 7. So you definitely don't need to wear yourself out in one of the games going into the 2-2 over the weekend, and then coming out having to go out to Montreal to play the Canadiens. Like, you really need to make sure that you're not blowing your energy reserves right away this week, because you are this is where the gauntlet's starting. That Colorado game was the beginning of it, in my opinion.
Yep.
Because now you're facing off against, I want to say, at least 80% of those teams, if the season were to end now, are playoff teams.
Right.
So you really do need to make sure that you're not running yourself ragged trying to beat one of these teams, because it's going to mess you up for at least 2 or 3 more games before you can actually fully recover.
Yeah, I think the other thing too here, since we talked about it here, is that I actually see if the Flyers lose, say for example the Vegas game, and they lose the split between the Hurricanes, the way they battled against the Hurricane, the way they battled against the Avalanche on Sunday, I think it's probably, I feel the same way how I feel about that game as how I feel about if they lose games like the Golden Knights and also lose games like the Carolina Hurricanes. They bounce back right away after, if they lose a game like Vegas and they lose a game like Carolina, or split rather, they bounce back in very, very good ways. And I think that's going to be something to go forward, especially with that gauntlet that you brought up here, especially in these next couple weeks or so. So for me, yeah, I mean, that's basically how I'll look at it too, is that I think that for the Flyers here too, is that if they continue to make it very, very positive. I mean, we always talk. We should probably just call it a positive show, because that's all I've been saying for the last 36 minutes here, so, or 33 minutes here. Yeah, but I got enough. I'm very, very happy to see. I'm very excited to see that this team competes every game, and I'm really excited to see, especially how they're going to continue to play the way they have been playing. I think it's been very. It's something I haven't seen in a while, and I kind of can't help myself sometimes to see how this team is. But it's been a long time coming for this Flyers team, and the other thing that's really happy to see and also exciting to see is that they compete every game more than anything.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the way this team is being put together and coached by Rick Tocchet and Danny Briere is the GM. They are doing everything they can to put this team into solid positions to be successful, and they are taking those calls every single time and answering them. Right. And it has been incredible to watch this season. And like I said last week, I genuinely think we are at the point that we can say that hockey is back in the city of Philadelphia.
It is
start dusting off your Flyers jerseys, folks, because hockey is back, and it is exciting. Well worth the wait. It has been well worth the wait for sure.
My dad, Joe Scorza, brings up a good area. If in case you haven't noticed, the Eagles pulling a little bit of a John Candy and Joe Montana in Super Bowl. Actually, he says the Flyers don't need a positive bunny for their locker room. No, I think the positive bunny is Gritty, but Gritty's been off the gridiron for the last couple of weeks, for the last couple of times. So it's good to see Gritty kind of reminding me of the Fanatic, but although though. I think the Eagles. I know we changed the subject here a lot here, but that's what the Eagles need to do here tonight. They have to find that Flyers juice that the Flyers have, and also transfer it into their game here tonight. But obviously, this is a Flyers show, so it's just. I mean, but they need to win tonight more than anything. But
yeah, I will say this about the Eagles game tonight. The Chargers are definitely no slouch of a team.
Sure.
Justin Herbert is playing with a broken bone in his non-throwing hand, so he's not going to be taking any snaps under center. So you'll be able to read runs a little bit easier out of the shotgun. So just attack him as often as you can, make him uncomfortable trying to get rid of that ball, even though the injury's on his non-throwing hand. Sometimes having to clutch is going to be painful. So you want to be able to you want to force him to try and make a throw really quick where he has to clutch really quick, and it could throw everything off. And also the Chargers pass defense has not been one of the best this year. If you can expose that and you can counteract it with a solid run game, which is something that we have been missing a little bit this year. Saquon has not been as effective as you would love to see him be.
Right.
This could be the start of something good for the Eagles if you can get the win tonight in prime time against the Chargers.
Absolutely. All right, so let's move on here. So obviously we got an injury report here to talk about here in this game here tonight. Coming into the game tomorrow. So obviously there's a couple players still on the injury report here. Is Tyson Forster still on the injury list here. Rasmus Ristolainen, it looks like he's still. Yeah, I saw that shot. It didn't look like kind of like how a baseball player threw his arm out. It was kind of like the same kind of scenario,
or almost, in my opinion, like seeing like a boxer or a UFC fighter throw a punch and their shoulder pops.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Like that's basically what happened. Like he wound up to take a slap shot, let that thing rip, and on the extension outward, pop that sucker out of place, which absolutely sucks because Tyson Forster was on a tear, man. He was playing such incredible hockey. He had scored I think it was like 7 in 8 or something like that.
He was on a like you said, he was on a tear. Absolutely,
he was on a tear, and then just the simplest thing that you do all the time and just let loose an absolute slapper and you end up hurting yourself on it. You know that when that happened, he's like, why did I even do that? Like I could have easily just let that sit on the tape and just flung that thing
out of wrister, like out of wrister or something,
but man, it sucks so bad to see one of your better offensive guys go down, but they've been picking it up. They've been picking it up around that injury really well. I mean, I believe they called up Grabankin again to take his place on the roster, which I brought him up about a month ago. I loved watching him play the last time he was up. So I'm getting a chance to see more Grabankin, and I am all about it, man.
Yeah, I got to say right now, that line with Grabankin, I think it's Noah Cates and who's the other guy? I'm trying. I think it's not the Vorax line. I think it's
Owen Tippett.
Tippett, yeah, I think it's Tippett. Yeah, I think it might be Tippett, but yeah, that line. I remember. I was coming back from somewhere. I was like watching. I was listening to the Flyers game, and Tim Saunders was giving some accolades to Grabankin and also the Noah Cates line, who has been. I mean that line. I mean, even though it's a third line, that's like kind of like the old wise tale would be calling the checking line. And right now, more than anything, I think that's a very good line, especially more than anything. And the last thing we'll say here too is that Rusto is actually on the verge of coming back and returning, but another injury happened over the week. Is Cam York out now for a couple games now too. Maybe that if the Flyers had Cam York yesterday or probably in the week against the Penguins, maybe Cam York could have easily probably would have been something to give the Flyers a little bit of a juice here. But I don't know how it happened. I don't know how the injury occurred. But, yeah, I mean, Cam York, I mean, that's going to be a good tall task here for the Flyers this week, especially with Vegas coming in and also Carolina on Saturday and Sunday more than anything, too.
Yeah, it's definitely tough to see Cam York, a really, really solid young defenseman, go down. But, sometimes that can be a point to really, really grow for Cam, to be able to just watch the game from up high and see how it flows, to see how he can find some seams a little bit better. Hopefully, of course, you hope that it's a quick turnaround and he's back on the ice soon. But at this point, it's just next man up. You need to have the next guy ready to go. And, like I said, seeing Zamula play with Drysdale this past week has been really fun to watch. And again, all the credit in the world to Jamie Drysdale. Whoever he's been playing with, he's been helping them look really, really good. Yeah, amazing, not to mention the effort that those guys individually put out. Like Zamula had a really good game against Colorado, being paired with Drysdale up there. So you really do hope that him, Forrester, and even Ristolainen can get back on the ice soon, so they can help out this team to be able to win some more games.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the other thing too is that probably when postseason play comes around and the Flyers are making a playoff push here, that you got to definitely have Rusto and also Tyson Forster and also Cam York on that, especially team. If you want to move one step further, if you want to make a postseason push, and that's the thing here too. Right now, I think it's a good injury to have, especially when the season really matters the most. But I worry too about what Tyson Forster with that slap shot. I'm worried that, dare I say this, I know it's a baseball term, but it's kind of like don't want to say Tommy John material like, but but hopefully hopefully somehow in some way the injury is not as significant as, dare I say, like a pitcher blowing out his arm.
Yeah, hopefully it's not, and hopefully you actually using another baseball term here, you hope that it doesn't cause what's known as yips, where
Yeah.
he becomes afraid to take that slap shot again.
Right.
I mean, even still, his wrister is crazy accurate and he has a lot behind it, but sometimes the slap shot is just a little more effective, and you hope that this shoulder injury doesn't scare him from putting his full offensive capability out there on the ice every game.
Absolutely. And that's the thing too. That's I totally agree 100% here. All right, let's move on here. So we got a couple games going on tonight, especially obviously we brought up the Birds taking on the Chargers here tonight. A couple games on the national slate here tonight around the NHL. So we got the Lightning taking on Toronto. That should be a good matchup here tonight, along with the Kings taking on Utah against the Mammoth. Sabres taking on the Flames, Wild at the Kraken, and the Red Wings close out the night taking on Vancouver. So, is there any games looking out to you tonight after the Eagles game that you want to keep a close eye on?
Because of the fact that I'm going to be watching the Eagles game, it would probably be a toss-up between the Detroit-Vancouver and the Minnesota-Seattle game. Personally, probably going to be Minnesota-Seattle for me, just because I love watching Kirill Kaprizov. He has been so fun to watch that I will be tuning into that one, absolutely. And honestly, Detroit's been such a turnaround team over the past couple of seasons, how they've come back around to being a very solid perennial playoff team that I do enjoy watching them play, even though I still personally have the scars of 96 on me from that cup final.
I bet. Yeah.
But man,
I know how you feel. I was only 2 years old at the time, but I know how you feel, buddy.
Yeah, dude, I was 7.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, dude. It was the first championship run that I was old enough to like actually experience. And like me and my brothers were out on the corner of our block with like honk for the Flyers signs and stuff back then, dude.
Oh yeah, it was crazy.
It was an absolute soul crushing series, man.
Yeah, I mean, even Jim Jackson said a long time ago, the Red Wings just got in the way.
Yeah, as good as the series was, and as crushing watching that final goal go in against Chicago.
Oh yeah.
At least there was a lot more fight in that series from Philadelphia, where Detroit just made us look useless in 1996, man.
It did.
Because that was the series right before I think that was the one right in the Eastern Conference Finals. Scott Stevens laid out Lindros for his first concussion, I believe, was where that little.
I think it was at 2000. I thought that was 2000.
Actually, yeah, that was 2000. That was I think it was first round Eastern Conference. Scott Stevens just caught him with his head down. Just absolutely. Of which, dude, you don't see those kinds of hits anymore. Like you got to keep your head up, bud. In the world of football, we call them hospital passes. Where like a guy just doesn't see somebody bearing down on him and they get lit up in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
You don't see like that Nicholas Cronwall style of like guy picks up the puck along the boards, head down, looks up, and there's just a whole spine in his face. Yeah. Like the way that Cronwall used to pinch down on people was brutal, dude.
Oh yeah, I remember Cronwall took. I think he hit it on Jake Voracek one time.
Hit Voracek with it one time.
He pounded him. I was like, oh
yeah, absolutely demolished Voracek. I still remember he did it too. I think it was, who was it? Was it Marian Hossa?
Hossa,
or like Michael Roosevelt. But he buried somebody along the boards.
I think it was Roosevelt. I think you might be right.
I think it might have been Roosevelt, but dude, that was probably the most brutal Cronwall hit I had ever seen.
It was bad.
that was a weird influx time between like 2000 and 2008 for like the brutality in hockey, because like
It was the best.
like you would have years where like, oh, not a lot of like really like questionable bad hits, and then the following year you're like, they're murdering people on the ice. And then the next season you're like, oh wow, it wasn't as bad as last year. And then you're like, 2 years ago that was nothing. They're actually trying to kill people on the ice now.
I know, it's crazy.
It was this weird thing of like peaks and valleys of like, they're crushing people. There are not a lot of bad hits this year. Oh my God. Like, just as you would sit there and like look at all the big hits from each year, like you can see the difference in like how the game is played just in terms of the physicality. Like, you don't really see those kinds of big hits anymore, which is great, because a lot more people are just trying to play the puck, and it's safer that way. Absolutely.
Sure.
But every once in a while, I'll see a pass where a guy's like pushing towards the two blue liners on a 2-line pass, and they'll look down like this to reach back to get that puck. And I'm like, just step up and take his shoulder pads off, bro.
Right.
Like, you could easily have stopped this play if you just went from here to here and just kept yourself close, met this man, and made him look like he was a bird. Like,
yeah, man, it was the best time. I mean, obviously, I started. Oh, dude, I think I started watching hockey in 2005, 2006. I was like probably
what
the
a
first
time.
game. Yeah, it was a great time. You know, it was right after the lockout, and I started to. I think I was a closet Buffalo Sabres fan because I liked Danny Briere and Chris Drury, and I was just like a Maximilian Fanaganov too. And that jersey, man.
Gosh, Fanaganov. Oh my goodness. I haven't heard that name in years, dude. Like that
he was good.
And that was when Hossa was still there too.
That's right. Yeah. Or no, Shatan, Miroslav Shatan.
Yeah, Miro Shatan. That's who it was. Hossa had left a couple years before that.
Yeah.
But Miro Shatan, like I think because Buffalo, that was like around 05 was like the tail end of Hasek's career.
Something like that. Yeah, I think it was with the Red Wings.
He went from Detroit back to Buffalo to end his career.
Oh, okay.
I think it was either like a season or like a season and a half that he came back to Buffalo and retired there.
Yeah, Ryan Miller was a hell of a goaltender too.
Yeah, Ryan Miller was incredible. Like they had so many good players on that team. Like I'm pretty sure that's where Jeff Skinner like really started to see like, I may be getting old, but like I'm not done. Was playing in Buffalo with Jack Eichel.
Yeah. Yeah. And also it was also too, I think it was I forget who it was on that team that Sabres team. I think it was like Teppo Numminen too. Like it was on that team too.
Ooh, yeah.
I think it was like after his Coyotes tenure. I think if I'm not mistaken. It was no. I'm sorry. It was well, no, yeah, that's right, about right. There was another time. I think when I started watching hockey back in 05, 06, I was like 10 years old at the time.
That's when Buffalo dropped I think 2 years after this, after the 05-06 season, Chicago dropped that big contract on Brian Campbell at the tail end of his career.
That's who it was. That's right. I forgot about Brian Campbell.
Also had Dmitry Kalinin, Ales Kotelik.
Yeah. Jochen Hesht.
Yep, Teppo Numminen, Danny Paille was there, Jason Pominville.
Henrik Tallinder.
Tallinder. Oh gosh, the bruiser pair of Derek Roy and Paul Gaustad.
Yep.
Gosh, dude, this was
also
Thomas Vanek.
I love Jason Pominville and Vanek. Oh my god, dude.
Pominville, Vanek.
It's a shame the Flyers were playing against them, because I remember the Flyers were playing them in that 2006 postseason. I said to myself, damn, they're gonna get killed. And then JP Dumont had a hat trick in the first period.
Yeah, dude, that was Ryan Miller's rookie year.
Yeah,
05,
that's right.
He finished 8th in Calder Cup voting that year. That's right.
Yeah, it was also
it was him, Marty Biron, and for a few games, Mika Norinen.
I think Jocelyn Tebow was on that team, was he? I know.
He
wasn't.
I
know Tebow was. No, that was a couple years later. That was he was with Pittsburgh. That's what it was. He was with the Penguins.
Yeah, Jocelyn Tebow was with Pittsburgh this year. Yeah.
and also Sebastian Caron, and also Marc Andre. The one time I remember, I never forgot this. It was like
that was I believe 0506 was like year 2 or year 3 Flower out there in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Fleury. Yeah, that's right.
God, man.
Yeah, it was, Malcolm wasn't even on the team yet.
I am so old.
Dude, I know, right?
No,
it's crazy, man. God, I know we got to move on here, but
I was in my
I remember
high school.
Yeah, right. I remember watching. I think that there was like a Sabres game. I think it was like 2007, and it would they tied the game with 6.9 seconds left in the game against the Rangers, and then 2 minutes into overtime, they won the game. I said, dude, the Sabres will win the Stanley Cup, and then unfortunately the Senators got in the way. But I will say this though too about that team from 05, 06, and also 2006, 2007. That was great Sabres hockey.
It really was, dude. That was one of those times where like that was the beginning of the true shift to pure offensive hockey.
Absolutely.
And they had the players to really fit into that scheme. Like the speed and skill of Danny Briere alone was enough for that team to see a lot of success paired with, the Chris Drurys, the Jason Pominvilles, the Jochen Hests, like all those guys just really complemented each other really well on the ice for the way that hockey was starting to shift to. And they were one of the catalyst teams for how the game was going to be played going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we got one more here.
Then the Flyers stole Briere from him. Yeah, baby.
Right? There you go. Exactly. That's the one thing that made it even better. I remember I said, dude, we got Briere. And I said to myself, oh, my God. I remember he used to be a Flyer killer. Now he's on our side now.
Yeah.
And he was he was so effective.
When we made that Briere signing.
Yeah, dude. Mm-hmm. He was oh, my God, dude. I remember where I was. I said to myself, wait, man, am I dreaming? Am I hallucinating here? But I see Danny Briere and Flyers orange and black. I'm like, oh my God, we're winning the cup now.
Yeah, he was a guy in the
NHL we brought back Prospel too, Vinny Prospel.
He was Briere was a guy in the NHL games when I would do like the franchise mode. Yep. I would literally trade a fistful of assets just to get him on my team.
Same with Kimmo Timonen.
With Timonen.
And Pronger.
A few years before that, I did it with Rob Blake from the Colorado Avalanche. Big bruising defender, and in the tail end of his career, a bit of a pylon. But man, that guy made an impact, dude.
I would go after Adam Foote, man. I was a big Adam Foote fan.
But a second line center that I would always try and go for in like 2002, 2003 was Vincent Damphousse from San Jose.
Yes,
dude,
Jonathan Chichu. I love Jonathan Chichu.
God, man. Dude. Remember, there was the one year that Chichu scored like 35 plus and he hit free agency, and I don't even remember who signed him, but they paid so much more than he was worth, dude.
I know.
I think that was the last like even 20 plus goal year that he had in his career was the year that he scored I think it was like 38 because he had like 4 in one game or something.
He tied Yager one year too. I think it was like 0506 too. I think it was the same year he tied Jaromir Jagr.
He had like 2 or 3 really good years and then got severely overpaid. Almost
Bobby
like
Bonilla type of money.
Yeah, almost like the same thing as like the Brian Campbell deal with Chicago.
Right.
Where like he had a really solid year in Buffalo the year before. People were talking about him being potentially one of the top defensemen in the league, and then got paid top defenseman money, and you could tell the gas in the tank was gone.
Yeah, like Brian Campbell in 2005-06 was a really good player.
Yeah, because he became a free agent the year before. Who was it? The Flyers put the offer sheet on.
Oh, Shea Weber.
Shea Weber, yeah. Because it was the first one was who's going to get Brian Campbell, and then that deal was made, and they were like, now pay attention for next year because Shea Weber's going to be on the market.
It was either him and Ryan Suter and Zach Parise.
Him, Ryan Suter, Zach Parise that year. God, dude. And then Nashville got Weber. Nashville retained Weber, and then Parise and Suter both went to Minnesota.
Yep. You know, it's funny. I remember I was like looking at my phone every 2 seconds to see, because I was at the movies that day with a buddy, or my uncle rather. We were going to see that movie Ted at the time when Seth MacFarlane had that Ted movie out.
Yeah.
And every 2 seconds I'm checking my phone, like, please like either my dad texts me or friends of mine tell me that we got Zach Parise before this movie. So it was, I swear to God, I felt like I was like getting drafted. I was waiting every 2 seconds for my phone to ping and say, dude, we just got Parise. And it never happened.
I remember telling a buddy of mine going
Shea Weber. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember telling a buddy of mine going into that offseason, he was like, dude, I want the Flyers to get Parise so bad. I was like, nah, dude, we're going to go after Shea Weber and we're not going to get him. No. He was like, what do you mean? I'm like, it's going to be the most unfortunate thing ever. We're going to offer Shea Weber ungodly amounts of money. And some other team's going to be like, yeah, we could do it. We'll also give you the no trade clause you want, because the Flyers didn't want to give him a no trade.
Right.
And he wound up getting the exact same offer from Nashville, just with a full no trade. And he took that deal.
I was pissed when we didn't get him, man. I was
so upset.
I was too, as the one. Yeah, it was the worst part about it was, I said to myself, was too, is like, we didn't even, I mean, in the end, no, we had Jaromir Jagr, but at the same time, too, it was actually no, that was Jagger's. That was the year after Jagr. Excuse me, that was when he went to Dallas. Yep. So I think the reason why we probably couldn't get him was probably because either it was Pronger's contract or maybe it was more, it was Briskalov's contract. The reason why we couldn't afford him, or somehow somewhere they reached a deal. I forget what it was.
It was because we gave him an offer sheet. Nashville had the opportunity to either match it or just let him go, and they wound up matching it. And they were like, on top of it, full no trade. And he went, yeah, sure, and just stuck around.
Gotcha. All right, so basically, I was going to ask you what the Flyers look ahead for this upcoming week against the Flyers, but do we got you got anything before we close out here? This week,
I'll just echo what I had said before for this week. I think it'll be a 2-2 week, just as long as you don't blow all your energy in these first 4 games before you have the rest of this gauntlet for the month, because next week is also just as bad. Just keep it consistent. Rely on your fundamentals. If certain extra little things that you're trying to do aren't working, continue that solid progress that you've been making getting the puck through the neutral zone. And we're still trying to figure out who that top goal scoring guy is going to be in the absence of Tyson Forrester. But don't just like pick a guy and just keep feeding him the puck. Let everyone take run. You know what I mean? Like this is going to be now goal scoring by committee, personally speaking.
For sure.
And I feel like the 2 guys that you will see step up a lot are going to be Zegras and Michkov. Mm-hmm. Both of those guys are going to try and shoulder the mantle of that. And I feel like a lot of teams already know that, if you can contain Zegras, you can probably cut off a good portion of their offense. So if you try and go through Zegras, you're going to end up just bottlenecking yourself significantly. And if a team can shut off Zegras, they'll just shut off your whole offense. So let the way the offense has been flowing recently continue to flow, because if you try and choke yourself down a bit, you're just going to choke yourself out. Right.
Absolutely.
But overall, just, stick to the fundamentals more than anything, and you'll see your way through not only this week, but the rest of the month to end out 2025.
Absolutely. And to quote Jared Hurts here, and also to quote the great Hoosiers, if you keep on focusing on fundamentals time and time again, you're going to be winners, and keeping the main thing. That's how everything should be for the Flyers. But the only difference is, though, the one thing the Flyers do diligence is that they continue to compete every which way. So I think it's going to be the same thing happening this week, and you're right about that. I totally agree that how the Flyers continue to play is that just keep the same focus, keep the same focus that they had all these last couple games or so. And in the end, I think they'll probably get good wins out of it. I think I see the Flyers get some good wins this week against the teams like San Jose tomorrow. Hopefully a good win against Vegas on Thursday. And I would say they split probably against Carolina. But then again, I mean, the way this team is constructed, they could probably win some good games here this week too, Austin.
Yeah, that's the way I'm seeing it, is win against San Jose, probably overtime loss or shootout loss against Vegas. And then one of those 2 games against Carolina, you take and you split that home and home.
Absolutely. All right, that's going to wrap it up here for this today's show for this week in Flyers hockey. want to thank Austin Hammel like we always do. I apologize that Joey's not himself. He's actually, believe it or not, I think he has laryngitis though. After
Oof.
I know I'm not even kidding you. I know the craziest part about it is I actually had laryngitis the same day I interviewed Jim Jackson with me and Joey. So I sound like so I had a frog in my throat, and it's kind of like transferred to him. But get well, Joey. We miss you, buddy. Hopefully everything works out in the end. But once again, I want to thank Austin once again joining me here today, man. Where can people see you next, my friend?
Art and I took this past Saturday off for the Hardcore Play podcast because I had some family up to visit post Thanksgiving. But I believe it will be this upcoming Saturday. We're going to be doing a show. We're going to be doing the Fallout New Vegas episode. The second season of the Amazon Prime series for Fallout comes out soon. So I feel like it makes sense to do that. Also, it's my favorite game in the entire series. So it made sense to talk about the one that I know the most about. Aside from that, I'm actually playing through the game in my own time over here on twitch.tv/Hambo26 on top of many other games that I still have not finished playing because I am just the worst.
I got you.
But yeah, I mean, all sorts of fun stuff always happening over there. So make sure you give a follow over there. And if you, I know we haven't said it yet today, but if you aren't doing so already on any of our platforms that we're available on, which are Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, or X, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I'm a creature of habit, so I call it something that I'm familiar with saying all the time. Follow us, follow the Hardcore Sports Network, follow our sister station, Streampunk Entertainment. If you already follow them, friends, people that are big into Philly sports that don't know about us, share us out to them. The further reach that you guys can help us get, the more that we can, have other people, express their opinions with us during shows like these. Always grateful for the opportunity to be able to get to do this with you, James. It's always a fun
Likewise.
time. And of course, the main place that you guys can always see me is right here every Monday, 4 p.m. talking Flyers hockey. And when it comes back around, talking Phillies baseball.
Love it. So that's the one thing I'll say about it too here. And like I said, it's been an honor to call you my friend, and also good stuff here, like always do. And also, hopefully Joey will be back with us next week, because obviously, hopefully we'll have some more positivity tonight with our Birds battling the Chargers and probably move one step closer to maybe winning that NFC East. And so, yeah, that's going to wrap it up here for today. But thanks to Austin once again, man. I appreciate you, my brother, like I always do. It's always been fun. So now for everyone behind the scenes and for everyone that made it work here, for Austin, for Joey, and for myself here, I'm James Scorza. And from all of us to all of you, thanks for watching, everybody. Good night, good hockey, and we will see you guys next week.